Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Forbes Factor, one of my favorite hours of the week.
Great show.
And you what? And,
Fine.
and you get to join me. Thank you so much. I love travel. It's one of the things that I enjoy most in life. And my two guests today are going to highlight some of the fun things when you travel, about why, when, how, and where. And one of them is a former student of mine. I'm so excited to bring her out here. But I would ask you, do you enjoy traveling? One of the things that I often do, my first major trip was to Europe when I was in my 20s. I turned to my mom and I said, I got to go to Europe before I get so famous. The paparazzi will just stop me everywhere. And that was my mindset as I was going. And I had this vision. I took Europe on $20 a day by Arthur Fromer, which tells you now how many years ago that was. I don't think you can do anything on $20 a day, except you can't even sit on a beach for that. So I got Europe and I started in the UK and I made a big circle counterclockwise. And I thought, all right, I'm just going to go see everything. I had $2,000 in my pocket total because I just finished starring in my first feature film. And I had this wild notion I should do it on my own. I know that was crazy, right? Who goes on their own to Europe? I grabbed my dad's giant camera and a Walkman. And again, for those of you who are under 30, you have no idea what I'm about to say, but I had two cassette tapes with me and I would flip them over and over and over because we didn't have iPods or millions of songs that you guys have. I was roughing it. And I also bought a Euro pass. I could only afford like a 6-week pass. And I decided to stay for like 6 months. So don't tell anybody, but this is long enough ago that the statute of limitations has run out. I forged my Euro pass because it was in ink, but I was determined to stay and see all of Europe. And I did. I went to every single country in Europe, all the way even down to Greece, on trains and boats, and all the way up through Norway and Scotland and Sweden. And I think the thing that I'm reminded most about when you travel is that life becomes very real, very visceral. You taste flavors of different countries. You meet people you've never talked to before, and you're a little on edge because it's not comfortable. You're catching a plane or a train or wherever you happen to be, or you don't know where you're going to get for lunch or where the museum is or how to speak the right language. And everything in your perspective of life changes. Well, I'm going to say, I think that helped make me the person that I am. The irony of this story, and I'm so grateful to share it, is I've got 22-year-old twins and they have the bug. For as long as I can remember, I would take them with me. I would travel for work a lot, but my work always had a tail, beginning and end. I would arrive early to see things, do what I had to do, and then keep a couple of days at the end. So my kids have been to Germany and China and all over Europe because that's what I demanded. Well, the funny thing is, my kids turned to me this last year and my son decides he's going to go do a semester in Spain. And they start in Spain, and my daughter's going to join him. She's opted not to go to college this year because she runs a very successful 7-figure business. Yes, she is only 21 and she started when she was 17. That's a whole nother show, which I think you guys have indulged me in. And so I assume she's going for a couple of weeks to enjoy Spain. And she said, no, 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 Mom, I'm going to keep my laptop here and I'm just going to go travel. She ended up doing 6 countries when she was 21. And I thought, isn't that kind of funny? Like if you did a 30,000-foot view of the tail end of me and my children and how that worked out, it's extraordinary. But my first guest is going to share, when you travel, one of the things that's the most important is how do you keep your belongings safe? Well, I'm insanely blessed. I borrowed my dad's camera, and back then, this is now in the 80s, it was a giant camera. We didn't have cell phones. And I promised him I wouldn't lose it. And I mean, I kept it tight. It was a really giant camera and the Walkman. And you sleep on trains. In fact, I have to share with you, one time I ended up sleeping outside a train station. I'd missed the train. There were a lot of people sleeping outside, and that's what we did back then. And luckily, none of my belongings ever got stolen. I never had anything terrible happen, and I'm grateful. But my first guest, Tammy, has not always been so lucky and has created a solution that when you travel, you've never seen this, you want to hear about it. Please welcome to the stage, Miss Tammy Q. Tammy, darling, come on up here.
Hello, it's such an honor to be with you. Oh my goodness, I've missed you so much.
Oh, we have grown since I've seen you, my girl. You started me a couple of years ago. I teach pitching training. And how did you get involved in all that?
Oh, I was in a group called M1 with Rock Thomas, and I saw you on a podcast, and uh, I can't say I immediately fell in love with you. I thought you were a little cocky, and then I decided I kind of like how cocky she is, and I want to learn more. And what really spoke to me was your story about Joshua and how he had been through an accident and came back to rebuild his muscles after losing almost all of them, being in a wheelchair for over 6 months.
Oh,
And I just wanted to learn more about this amazing lady. And I fell deeply in love with you once I started to connect with you.
first of all, the fact that you remember the story is just so precious. And the crazy thing, too, Joshua is now 47 years old. He is a world-winning bodybuilder. He's going for his possibly last competition in 2 weeks, the Arnold, one more time. But 5 years ago now, as COVID was hitting all of us, he was in a horrible motorcycle accident and did sit in a wheelchair and suffered all those things that you do, from depression to anxiety, and then lost all of his. He literally just watched him wither away. And he turned to me, and it's one of the things that I love about him, and love that you remember the story, is he got up and he said, "Take a picture of me." I'm like, "Oh, baby, no, you don't want a photo." He said, "Yeah, I do." He said, "When the gym's open again," it was June, "I'm going back. I haven't won this title yet." And I was like, "Oh, man." So I get to have a front row seat to massive determination. And through this show and other things that I do, my goal is to bring that to you. And I love, when you say the word cocky, that's interesting, because I can remember when I was in school, I don't know how kids perceived you, but they thought that I was very standoffish. Turns out I was incredibly shy. I've gotten to a point in my life, guys, in 2 months, as Medicare is reminding me, I'm turning 65. And I got to tell you, if this is what 65 looks like, let's be cocky.
Mhm.
So,
Yes.
Miss Tammy, talk to me. What have you been up to?
Oh, I've been up to so much, Forbes. I have changed in so many ways and grown and improved and it was just such a pleasure to meet you in person 2 years ago and Joshua. And what I've been doing is networking face to face with people. And I've become known as the follow through guru. Tammy Q, the follow through guru, because I help you get done what it is that you might want to do, that maybe you've been holding on to for weeks, months, or years, or not weeks, months and years, and possibly your whole life. And I help people figure out what's that thing that's near and dear to your heart that would make the biggest difference and mean the most to you 30 days from now. Make the biggest difference in your life. And my specialty is I get you results in 30 days or less, because how this evolved was, like you said, I invented a product, got it manufactured in the USA, travel safety product, and then
Oh,
people
wait, wait.
started getting
We gotta say, what
referred
is
to
it called?
me.
So wait, you gotta say, guys. So here, let me just refer to, and then Tammy, she tells us a little bit how you developed this. She developed a very unique travel product called Tuck-It, with a T.
Yeah.
And why did you develop this?
I developed it because I locked myself out of the house twice and the car once, uh, in the course of 2 weeks. And I decided I needed something on my person at all times that would not slip, fall out of my pocket, or be stuck under my car and a magnetized thing, et cetera, et cetera. It needed to be on my person, not in my purse, on my person at all times, and concealable. And so I invented it, tried it out with people, asked them if they'd buy it. And once that took off and I got it patented, people were being referred to me to find out how to get their goals and dreams off the ground as well.
Wow,
And
that's quite an interesting jump from a physical product. I'm so darn proud of you.
yeah, yeah. And then I started being told, you have an amazing gift to help people zone in and change those patterns very quickly, shifting them into empowerment from disempowerment. And when we're in our own jar, we can't read the label. And it's really amazing what we can do and co-create together with someone who's with you every step of the way, brainstorming with you. And that's what I help people do, is just shift those patterns that we fall into, where we're holding ourselves back in all kinds of different ways.
So you managed to do this a lot. You have no, so the whole philosophy, the whole keep your stuff safe, is that about Tuck-It or about the 30 days?
Yeah, the Tuk-It, keep your stuff safe. I actually sold that off to some people that wanted that trademark. I said, you can have it. I'm changing mine to travel light, travel safe for the Tuck-It.
Oh, I love that. Just real quick for my audience who has a physical product desire to bring out to the world, what was the journey like for you?
Oh, it was interesting. I was a student at the community college, so I was able to, they were hooked up with a place called Tech Ventures, and for free you could get advice from people who would help you with your patent. And I used the most amazing, I used that, I capitalized on that, and I found the most amazing person to help me with that. And I suggest that other people do that as well. And when you're getting your goals and dreams off the ground, don't let anything stop you. Just keep asking, finding people, trying, and looking for those mentors that can help you open the pathway, because life does get in the way, and I help you not let that happen. So the journey was also, you have to be so patient. And I didn't know that when you filed for a patent that you automatically get rejected one, two, maybe three times or more. And you really do have to find somebody who works with you really well to work that through. And then you just kind of go from there. You just keep on pushing, and your goals and dreams will come true. They're waiting for you. They're physically out there in the future waiting for you. You just have to keep moving forward to bring them into reality.
Well, I love that visual. That is kind of spectacular. So when you take people through a 30-day journey, what do they expect at the other side of that?
At the other side of that, we do almost like it's the fuel getting your rocket off the ground, getting the rocket going. So once they're changing some of those inner stories and patterns, after I do a 5-week program with them, now their automatic pilot has been shifted to a gift that keeps on giving after that. So that now they're lifted off the ground, and they're building that momentum, and they've shifted what used to be holding them back. And we do it with joy and ease. That's what I always emphasize, is that most people think, well, I know what I need to do. I know what the first step is. You'd be surprised. The first step might be what you're might not be what you're thinking. And then number two, once you get off the ground and once you've changed that shift in thinking and those inner stories, now you're off the ground and you're headed into the right direction, and you're building momentum.
Could you give
Um,
some little insight? You didn't always have this philosophy. You came to something pretty profound. Can you give somebody a little insight who's struggling, how you've been somewhere and now you are somewhere else?
well, I was definitely extremely shy as a kid, and I didn't really believe in myself. I remember being second to last pick, and I always wondered why. I was like, well, at least I'm not last pick. I'm second to last pick, but it was really awful. And eventually I came into learning how to overcome those thoughts and feelings, and how to just start raising my hand and showing myself that I do have something of value to speak about, and learning how not to be afraid of being mocked, criticized, put down, rejected, all that kind of stuff. It just means you're moving forward.
Wow. Well, I'm excited for you to also to meet our guest, and then I'm going to bring you back on so we can have a kind of a three-way conversation. Tammy, how do people find out more about you and what you're up to?
Well, you can go to my Facebook page, which I actively have someone brand new helping me out with my social media presence, because she said it's a disaster. And so I need to, and this is another point that I want to make. Don't hold yourself back just because your social media presence is terrible and you don't have that website up yet. The website is it's what do you call it? It's being built right now, and it's going to
Okay.
be, it's Tammy, or follow through with tammyq.com is on its way.
Okay.
Follow through with
And we'll put that as
tammyq.com.
show notes. And this show lives on forever between iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Pandora, we're everywhere. So follow through with Tammy Q. I love that branding for you. And I'm excited
Thank
to have you
you.
come back because you're going to want to hear what Eli has to say. So, Eli,
Okay.
before Tammy leaves for a second, share, Eli, come on up here. I'm very much a community minded. You've just listened to what Tammy's up to. What's your feedback for her?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the things you shared I resonate deeply with, especially stepping into the unknown, building businesses is like a lot of trust is required. And the word that came to mind was persistence. I think that's been one of the core character traits that I've cultivated that has helped me be successful in the business I'm in. And it sounds like that is like a master skill that is required for anyone that wants to pursue that. And you were hitting that right on the head from my perspective too.
And Tammy, I'm going to tuck you back in just for a couple of minutes. You're going to be blown away. This man has visited over 42 countries. Eli, welcome to the stage. We're so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much.
I'm not a big believer in big intros, so feel free to share with my audience a little bit about what we need to know about you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, travel lover at heart, an entrepreneur, and ultimately for me, I've always pursued building businesses and things that are really like light me up and make me come alive and bring a lot of passion to me. And that's been in the travel industry. So I've built a tour company and where we took sports teams all over the world. And through that, I started to learn these secret strategies of these credit card programs and how you can really leverage them effectively to unlock dream travel experiences at 90% off or sometimes even completely free. And I'm talking about like bucket list trips, first class travel, business class travel, all over the world, luxury hotels, stuff that sounds almost too good to be true. But by unlocking some of these small tweaks with the credit card you use and how you leverage these points, you can literally travel all over the world. So I've been doing that for 10 years, saving over literally like $100,000 to $150,000 a year worth of bucket list trips. Wow. And so I built a business around that too, where we help other business owners and entrepreneurs and individuals, but a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs get the right credit cards on the right expenses so they can have the trips of their dreams and not have to pay for it. So that's the mission of the business. And that's a little about me.
Well, my business partner is obsessed with this. I used to do that in the early days. I kind of figured out. So, for example, one of the things that I enjoy and love is that my partner, I realized about Southwest, which I used a lot because it just stopped in all the right places. If you spend enough, you get a free companion.
Yes.
And I got to tell you, there's like no blackout on that. I mean, I've traveled a lot my entire life and blackout dates and issues. You've made a science about this, and I'm excited to dive more in. I may become a student because I'm like, all right, I've got a bunch of cards. My partner's like, we have to do this for food and this for. I'm like, I'm confused.
Yeah.
So, what's a couple of insight? I know Tammy's like drooling here. What couple of insights can you share us in the short time that we have together?
Yeah. So I like to try and make this simple because it's a very nuanced game. It's kind of like figuring out taxes, right? There's this IRS code with a bunch of legal loopholes and no one wants to read through all that to figure out how to win at the tax game. Yet saving money on taxes is one of the smartest things you can do, especially if you're trying to grow your wealth, right? And so on the travel side, there's all these strategies with different credit card programs and loyalty programs. So how do you make sense of this? Well, I've chunked it into 3 buckets. So you can kind of rank yourself on a 1 to 10 on these 3 buckets, and that will help you figure out where do you need to focus first so that you can get more of the trips that you want. And so the first bucket is to maximize the points that you earn. And you do that through getting the right credit cards and the right expenses for you, because for you, it's going to be different than for me. Okay. So that's bucket 1. Bucket 2 is going to be maximize the value out of those points so you get the most out of the points that you have. So instead of getting 1 free trip, how do you use your points effectively so you can get 3 or 4 or 5? Instead of getting economy, how can you get first class for less than economy? Okay. So that's the second bucket. You need to maximize the value. And then the third thing is you want to look at how do I upgrade and optimize my travel? So you do a lot of speaking, when you're staying at hotels, are you getting free suite upgrades? Are you getting free breakfast? Are you getting late checkout? Are you getting the lounges? Are you getting the free bags when you fly? Are you skipping the lines at the airport? The things that make travel just more seamless and comfortable. And so those are kind of the 3 chunks. And then within each of those, there's some specific strategies that I can walk you through that will allow you to really maximize it in a way that's really efficient with you for your time without you having to spend, hours trying to piece it together and deal with kind of the headache and confusion that most people run into that prevents them from actually getting the results.
Okay, you tell us a couple of those. This could be my most downloaded episode. Go for it.
Sure. So starting with the maximizing your points. So I mentioned it is kind of custom to everyone, depending on where you live. You may fly different airlines and you may have different hotel preferences and goals. So you always want to start with what's the goal in mind. Is it consistent free travel domestically because you got young kids and you want to take them to Disney twice a year? Is it you are a nomad and you want to go travel the world? Is it you have business overseas and you're traveling a lot in business class? Like there's different outcomes. So when you kind of have that, you want to reverse engineer it and say, what do I spend the most money on in my personal life at home, my groceries, my shopping, dining, Amazon probably, even business, right? If you're looking at your business, that's a huge lever for those that have businesses. What are the business expenses? Is it software? Is it advertising? Is it going to be business travel? And then you want to look at those top, let's call it 2 to 3 categories of spend. And you want to find a card that maximizes those categories. So a common one is going to be a card like the Amex Gold card. This is because it earns 4 points per dollar on groceries and dining, and I'm pretty sure everyone's going to eat, right? So that's a great one to get for almost anybody. And there's a lot of common mistakes here because someone would say, I got the nicest card at Amex. I have the platinum card. It's a $700 fee. It comes with all these perks. It's very prestigious, right? Well, in fact, the gold card has a lower annual fee. It's less sexy, but it's actually the smarter card for spending.
Oh no, I have the platinum. Okay.
So a lot of people do, right? And I actually have both. But when it comes to when I go out to eat, when I'm shopping for food, when we're going to get groceries or ordering Instacart, I'm using that gold card and I use the platinum for other things.
Okay.
So that's an example of what I mean. And the key here is that you get the right type of points. Because if I told you, hey, I'm going to give you 100 US dollars or 110 Mexican pesos, you'd be like, give me the dollars, right? Because even though it's a lower number, the currency is much more valuable. Well, with points, if you earn 500,000 Hilton points, that's actually less valuable than 300,000 Amex points. So you want to make sure you have the right type of card, because if you earn a lot of points in the wrong currency, it's not going to get you very far.
Okay.
So those points with the banks are the most valuable. So Amex points, Chase points, even Capital One points. There's a couple others, but those are the big three you want to focus on. Okay. So that's kind of segment one around getting the right cards. And you don't have to have 20 credit cards. It can be simple. I recommend, 2 to 3 for an individual. And then if you have a business, maybe 2 to 3 for the business. You get that going, and that's your simple setup. Okay. So I kind of pause there because that's a lot to take in. But that's the first foundation. Because if you want to use your points and you don't have the right type or enough, it doesn't matter anyways.
Well, so we've got a couple minutes for the end of this segment, and then we're going to come back with you. So Tammy,
Cool.
pop up here for me. Tammy, do you use your credit card? Are you in this whole little world doing this? Do you understand and maximize it?
Oh, yeah, this is brilliant, Eli. I've been using credit cards when I left my corporate job. That's another thing people come to me for is I want to leave my corporate job. How did you do this? And how can you help me? I help them figure out how to take advantage of those 0% offers, and that you can live off of. I can make a dollar stretch so far. I'm now going into my 6-year anniversary since I quit my corporate job on my birthday in July. And this is just brilliant and extremely important to know how to juggle these things, but in a very simplified way. It seems like you said a mouthful there, and it seems so confusing, but yet once you're putting it into practice and you have someone kind of holding your hand through it, it's really simple.
Totally.
And it really, really keeps more dollars in your pocket for a lot longer. And then you can grow those dollars through these credit cards by just eating.
I think that's a fascinating concept to understand what points are what cards. But you mentioned you have a fair amount of cards, don't you? I do too, actually. I have 4 at the moment. But you're very strategic about knowing what is for what.
Exactly.
That's something that you teach, a book you have, a course we can take. What's the deal?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm big on Instagram. So I give a lot of this information away for free on there. So it's just Eli Travel Guy. So that's the brand there. But I do have a bunch of different stuff. We have courses. I have an ebook called the CEO Points Playbook. This is for business owners primarily. And then I have courses on there too. So on my Instagram, people check that out and they'll be able to get access to those kinds of different, either free or low cost starter kind of packs. And we have a company where we do this as a service for entrepreneurs too, because there's a lot of folks who they get this and like, I don't even want to spend any time. I just want you guys to do it for me. I want you to do a card plan. I want you to plan my travel. So we kind of act almost like a CPA for your credit cards meets a travel agency for points. That's kind of the thing we do.
I absolutely love this, but you get a kick out of the fact that my daughter lived on her credit card all around Europe, just Airbnb having a blast. Before we got 2 minutes left, give me your story about your Emirates airline first class $15,000 ticket.
Yeah, I've done this one a few times. I actually just proposed to my fiance in Europe in December, and we flew Emirates first class again. Now, the first time I'd done this, I was mind blown. I'd already traveled around the world a few times in business class and had some cool experiences, but this was next level. So you board the plane, you sit down immediately. They come over, sir, would you like some Dom Perignon? Would you like this amazing Turkish coffee? We have these like luxury things. You're in a giant suite, completely, closed door over here. Like you can lay out and then still have room. They have an in-flight shower. They have an in-flight bar. And it's just the most lavish experience. They've got tuna tartare, caviar, all sorts of stuff.
But how much did you pay for this?
So that experience, right? It's normally $15,000. If you did it the traditional way and you go to, let's say, the Amex travel site, this is what most people do with their points, it would have been 1.5 million points. By transferring points, which is what we show people how to do, I got it for 136,000 points and then just $500 out of pocket.
No freaking way.
Wow.
All right, well, we have to, you know, I'm so excited, guys. When we come back, we're going to dive a little bit more into this. I do have a first-class British Airways story. Not quite as sexy as yours. You are an incredibly smart guy. Tammy, how is this for a really cool segment? Yeah?
Amazing. Just amazing.
All right, you guys, so stay tuned. I want you to take a listen. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with Eli Facenda and Tammy Q, the follow-through guru, in just a few minutes after this break. And I want you to think about one of the things that I did this last year was I did the whole dream board. I put where I wanted to go. In the middle of COVID, I put Costa Rica and Dubai up on a board for no real reason. I just wanted to go there. The next thing you know, I got a call to do a mastermind for 2 weeks in Costa Rica, which turned into 2 months. And then I got 2 first-class airline tickets that showed up to Dubai as if by magic. So manifesting mixed with a little bit of points and traveling